with you, and I would say perhaps droughts, because of the impact of climate change, droughts have become more frequent. They have also become more intense, and they are not going to go away. The drought was there yesterday. It is here today, and it will be there tomorrow. And by the way, if you are in that part of the world, you are either in the middle of the drought like we are now, or you are preparing to get into one, or you are struggling to get out of one. That is the cyclic nature.
It's a cycle of drought.
It's a cycle of drought. And if you are in a situation like that, the best thing that you can do is to learn how to live without drought, because it's not going to go away. That's when now those issues you have talked about need to come in. The resources have to be provided. If we are not able to provide pasture and grass, then the government, maybe through legislation or through policies or through funding, can now create an environment of trying to mitigate the impact of some of this. We've seen countries like Iran, which also has pastoralists like the way we have. They even have special trains that transport pastoralists during drought from a dry area to areas which are not dry through trains, including people and livestock. So through policies and government programs and funding, measures can be put in place to be able to help these pastoralists, and perhaps also teaching them on alternative livelihoods.
Absolutely.
Because sorry.
No, I mean, just on that, because I don't want to lose that. What you've talked about then, alternative livelihoods. Look at a time where the rain, and that may have been a long time ago, but when the rain did not fail, April to June, when that rain came out was expected later in the year. And a basic question, did you see, or did the people see that there was enough water at the time when the rains did not fail? Was there enough water?
Yes. Because when the rains come, they come in torrents.
Okay.
And we have floods actually.
Right.
And we leave that water go to waste.
There we go. So there's an opportunity that exists if nature was doing her thing.
Exactly.
The way which was supposed to be. Knowing also, because you've just said it's cyclical in nature, that there will be a time when it is dry, there will be some time when then there is water, but then already, the people on the ground are the best experts. They will know that, it is going to be dry again and it will rain again.
Right.
But we also know that when it comes in plenty.
Right.
So opportunities have been there to put in place reservoirs for tomorrow. Would you say that, or it has not been enough?
No, opportunities have been there.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the government has tried. There are some reservoirs, some water ponds that have been done, but not enough. I think more can be done so that we can tap that water when it's in plenty, stored, and used during the lean times like we have today. Some of the ponds that have been done in some areas, they keep water even for 3-4 years. And probably if we had more of those water ponds in many strategic areas in the entire county, then we would not be suffering water scarcity like we are doing now. And perhaps we would have mitigated much of our problem like we have today. So that's why when I talk about government programs, funding, and the environment created in such a way that the people are prepared to live with drought, because it's not going to go away. And perhaps if to escalate this a little bit to the international level, for example, when we talk of climate change, right now there's COP27 going on in Egypt. The biggest polluters, the Chinese, the Americans, industrialized nations. Every time we have a drought like this, they rush in with organist aid, relief and what have you. I think it's high time we told them we don't need relief, but we need compensation for the damage they have caused to our climate, because it is the emission from their industries which is affecting the poor farmer in a village in Mandera who doesn't know anything about where all this is coming from. So it's high time we held those powerful nations which are polluting the environment and causing climate change to compensate poor countries and poor regions like ours, so that we can be able to mitigate or even adapt, on the climate change impact that they've caused.
Mheshimiwa, as a lawmaker, how does our constitution or how do our current laws favor county governments with regards to the county governments coming to an understanding with partners, whether it is financial, whether it is developmental, whatever their needs are, to ensure that the counties benefit directly from these partnerships that, say, the national government has? Let me explain to you why I'm thinking this way. Turkana has problems which are very similar to your area. But something happened in Turkana. An aquifer was chanced upon. Well, it wasn't as though someone was walking and they bumped into an aquifer. I mean, no, there was research being done. Now, it is said that that particular aquifer had the capacity, the water capacity, could last this country 70 years. The unfortunate thing about that water was that it required processing for it to be able to be used now, which means something could be done with that resource to ensure that it benefits people. Now, if you say your constituency, your county has aquifers, now, has adequate research been done to determine the capacities that they have? Because an aquifer means it has water. And if it isn't something that is readily usable, that's when all the partnerships I'm talking about comes into play. Because learning to deal and accept a problem as permanent when solutions actually exist. If there were no water resources at all except rain, then it would be a damnable situation. And you'd think, I would agree and say, yes, let's find ways of coping. But that isn't the only story, is it?
No.
So, as a lawmaker, and given that agriculture, do I get it right? It's a default function, is it not?
It is a default function.
Exactly. So, do our laws permit such a thing so that the issue and the dependence on the national government to come up with solutions which have all manner of documents written about but which are rarely implemented, can the county government then take the step that it should to do what they know is best for its people?
Yes, I think the laws are there. It all boils down to pragmatic leadership, both at the national level and also at the county level. For example, there are some functions like, for example, agriculture, water, which are devolved, yes. But then the other part of it, the policy making, is still a function of the national government.
Yes, it is.
That be as it may, there is also what we call the Intergovernmental Relations Act, which facilitates the meeting of both levels of government. The national government annually, at least once, the Council of Governors sits with the president at that summit, where they can iron out some of those issues which are a lacuna in law. For example, where the law is not very clear about what needs to be done by which arms of government. So that can address whatever lacuna that exists in law. But of course, more laws can be developed to give the environment more clearer picture and more clearer, direction in terms of what needs to be done. So here, two things are key. Leadership, you see, county governments are just 10 years old. The initial 5 years have been chaotic, as we all know. It was a new concept, new thing to all of us, and communities equated devolved governments to an opportunity for now local groups to devolve corruption from the national level to the local level. Some of the counties did not have even enough personnel to be able to run some of those functions. You see, where a CEC minister for education in the county is somebody who has never handled even 100,000 in his life, but is trusted with a docket with 2 billion per year. A lot of problems happened because of mismanagement, lack of knowledge, lack of experience on some of those things. But now we are 10 years old, and slowly a lot of counties are coming of age, and professionals are coming up to take up some of these positions in the county level. So if we iron out this question of leadership, and we have good leaders at the county level, and we have good leaders at the national level, and then we continue working on the laws to refine them and review some of them, and like for example, to deal with this question of drought, I've already written to the speaker on a legislation on livestock insurance. You see, we lose a lot of livestock now. And if we had a livestock insurance law where farmers can insure the animals, perhaps they would get compensated instead of being left to the vagaries of weather. So some laws like this can be developed, and through the intergovernmental relations, counties can even borrow.
They can. You see what? Given the dependence of a county such as yours on livestock, and given the contribution that livestock plays in our economy.
Yes.
You see, why I speak to you directly now as a lawmaker is this. I understand that we have an abattoir somewhere in Athi River. Do we have an abattoir in Mandera?
We don't.
Okay. To my point, must an abattoir be a fixed asset, something that sits in a place with brick and mortar? It can be mobile, can it not?
Yes, it can.
What I'm saying is there are many things that can be done, many. And they are not impossible. One could argue they're not even that difficult. The difficulty is in someone getting their heads around it and the determination. Now, a member of parliament can push.
Right.
And it has to be a selfish push, because this has nothing to do with the rest of the country. It has to do with where you come from and the problems that the people who you represent have.
Correct.
And not just push, but make a lot of noise so that it is understood and it is known. Because the contribution can be enhanced. The contribution can be better. We have an airport in Garissa, do we not?
We do.
It's
Even
not.
Wajir.
Yes, exactly. So now this issue of Nairobi being far, that one we've done away with. So if you're talking export, if you're talking optimizing this particular resource that is in that region, it isn't something that we can leave to time and the whims of bureaucrats who sit in the ministry at the national level, because then nothing will ever happen.
Correct. And I agree with you. And one big challenge there again, which it is not insurmountable, you can deal with it, is the question of road infrastructure. Like right now, World Bank is planning to do the Isiolo-Mandera road. Mm-hmm. The Garissa-Mandera road is not fully complete. It has come quite a distance.
Where is it now?
It's now in, I think, Abaswein. Mm-hmm. And once that road is done, actually, when you talk about opening up Northeastern, let me tell you guys, Northeastern did not benefit from missionaries who helped other parts of this country by educating its people, building schools, putting up development. Northeastern was left on its own by the missionaries. It was left on its own by the colonial government, and it's been left on its own by the successive Kenyan government for quite a number of years.
You're a polite man. Northeastern was marginalized. It was like it was a deliberate policy that was never written anywhere.
Exactly.
That development and anything that goes that region should be ignored. Not avoid, just ignored.
Actually, it was documented in sessional paper number 10 of 1965.
Yep, it was.
Which deliberately said, high potential areas, government should invest in high potential areas, and we expect that development to trickle down to low potential areas, which never happened since independence. So that one, I agree with you. I'm just trying to be a little bit polite, but the fact is the Northeastern has been marginalized for quite a long time, and the impact and even the footprints of that marginalization is with us even today. Look at the passport issuance and vetting processes. Right now I'm dealing with a lot of questions from my constituents and constituents in the entire Northeastern region on people, students who've got scholarships. They are asked to travel, but the process of acquiring passports is become a nightmare to them. Some of them have even lost the opportunity to access that. Some people are sick, they want to travel out of the country for medication. They are unable to travel because the process of acquiring a passport, if you are from that part of the region, is a Herculean task. So many people now waiting, like in Mandera, for example, over 1,700 students and sick people are waiting for the vetting process for the last 3-4 months, for the vetting to be done, for them to acquire the passports to be able to travel out of the country. And the picture is the same in Wajir, in Garissa, and all the way. I've even received some letters from some people in Marsabit, all the way even in Kisii, where passports is being issued. The people of Somali origin are having it very difficult to get their passport even in other parts of this country now because of that vetting process. So that marginalization is not gone away. It's there with us even today. Look at the education industry, the teachers. TSC has made it deliberate that Northeastern becomes a recruiting ground for teachers from other parts of the country. And once they've gotten their recruitment, they are transferred en masse to other parts of the country so that our children remain uneducated. And those, actually, I always tell people, the youth bulge in that part of the world is a ticking time bomb. And we are creating a situation where those youths will remain illiterate for forever. And you can imagine whatever happens to them in the future is going to affect this country. Even those people who think they're punishing the people of Northeastern, a few years down the road, once those youth come of age and they are illiterate, they cannot access jobs, they cannot access opportunities, then it is going to be a problem for this nation even.
Let's take a break, City. It's 26 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is a Situation Room. The Honorable Abdul Haro is the Member of Parliament for Mandera South constituency. He's here with us. We're talking about what's happening in that region, Mandera and Wajir and Garissa as well, the northeastern part of the country, in terms of drought, in terms of other conflict, in terms of even terrorist attacks and security in general. This is the week from tomorrow when the Italian Cuisine Week begins, from Thursday the 10th to the Sunday the 20th of November. There'll be an exhibition of Italian products. In Nairobi, restaurants will be able to participate in a contest for the best tiramisu. On the 11th, you'll be able to visit Carrefour and enjoy Italian corner at your nearest branch. And from the 11th to the 14th, the University of Napoli will be hosting podcasts on sustainability and special agriculture. This all taking place this week from tomorrow. Good morning. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Everyone remembers the ambition they first had when they started their business.
A business holds promise. An idea could blow up and change lives anywhere on the planet. But the best idea is not worth much if it can't be executed by a solid team. Introducing The Room, the talent solution that provides a global network of tech talent, relationships, and resources dedicated to drive growth and innovation in your business. Hire tech talent and pick from qualified software engineers, cloud developers, web developers, and data analysts, all vetted and trained to Silicon Valley standards. The way we work has changed, and subsequently, so should the way we hire. Visit theroom.com today and discover how we can improve your business.
The adults in the room.
I've seen some marriages, relationships, cohabitings struggle because there was no independence of the relationship.
It needs a certain level of intelligence. You need to reach a place where you know yourself. And again, you're not feeding off society.
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not.
Tune into Adults in the Room every Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
The Adults in the Room will help you stay winning. Only on 94.4 Spice FM.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning at 18, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 25 in Nakuru. It's going to go to 24 in Nyeri, and we'll see highs of 25 in Eldoret. 30 will be the high in Mombasa. It was raining earlier, and it's partly sunny conditions now in Malindi at 28, going to highs of 30. We'll see highs of 29 in Kisumu and 28 in Kakamega. We're looking at mostly sunny conditions at 22 in Kampala, and it's 27 and light rain in Dar es Salaam. at the moment. 17 and sunny in Johannesburg. We'll see highs of 24, and 32 will be the high in now a rainy Lagos at 25. 23 and mostly sunny in Kinshasa, going to highs of 30.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
At continuing traffic situation in most parts of the city. There's still that issue on Lunga Lunga in and outbound traffic. Then it's spilling over to Likoni, which have a little bit now going towards the southern bypass exchange coming off Mombasa Road. It's still pretty heavy on Raila Odinga Way as it's coming off of Langata Road and then going towards Gong Road. So we're looking at that. Yes, it is bumper to bumper, whichever way you want to look at it. And it's really heavy on the Thika Superhighway just past that Utali Drift, and Kiambu Road is also still pretty crazy at the moment. We're looking at traffic then coming off Limuru Road, and it still continues, at least for now. We're still in traffic hour. See what happens when we come out of it in about half an hour or so. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
In the Situation Room is the Honorable Abdul Haro, the MP for Mandera South. He is popularly known as Kore. What does Kore mean?
Kore is a climber. So perhaps I've been climbing heights and the sky can only be the limit.
All right.
Yes.
And this is a nickname that you were given by your family or villagers or what?
Yes, it's a family name actually.
It's a family name?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about the situation in your constituency, in your county, and in the northern parts of the country, especially when it comes to drought. And CT, before we took the break, had actually talked about some of these things that you're saying require some policy issues, some legislation. You've written to the Speaker wishing to introduce a bill in Parliament. But there are some things that can happen immediately, can they? Can there be? I mean, if we talk about the contribution that your part of the country brings to food security in Kenya, this is the amount of beef and sheep and goats and camel that comes from this region that can feed the country, that can even go for export.
Yeah.
There's possibility of establishing more abattoirs in the area. There's possibility of even having easier transportation and faster transportation from Wajir, from Garissa to the nearest international airport, which is in Isiolo, outside of the country, or taking all the way to Lamu and shipping from the Lamu port. Why can't this happen? Why can't it happen? Well, not now because there's all this drought, but why can't there be plans to have this happen in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it can't. It has not been possible to happen, and it looks like it might not happen even in the near future because of the deliberate, policy of marginalization. I think many Kenyans don't realize the impact of that livestock industry, which I just mentioned earlier, on Kenya's economy. And the governments, the successive governments, have deliberately, taken more resources to other parts of the country and ignored that part of the country for quite many years. That region requires what I call a Marshall Plan, in quotes. It requires a deliberate government effort to, pump in resources that will bring those people, closer to where the other Kenyans are in terms of education, in terms of livelihoods and economy, in terms of, health, all the sectors that you can think of in this country. The index, the average from that region is below the rest of the country. And what right now is required, for example, we are now in the middle of the very serious drought. Our livestock are dying. If there were some, markets where people can sell their livestock for good prices.
Yeah.
That would solve a lot of problems because these people can dispose of, instead of these animals dying, they can dispose of. Many Kenyans think pastoralists love their livestock so much that they hold on to them until they die. I think that's been a notion that has been peddled around for long, which is not true. You know, nobody wants to see their stock die as they watch. Their wealth, their assets, go up in the air as they watch. You know, some of them run mad when they lose all their animals. A man having 100 cows today, tomorrow he has none. You know, you can imagine how painful it is. So if they had a market, we now have an international airport in Wajir, which has been used perfectly well by the government to wage war in Somalia. You know, military flights, take off from there, and they've been used very well in that perspective. But in terms of developing the livestock industry, transporting beef from Wajir to the rest of the other world, Middle East. And by the way, you see whichever way unstable the Somali government is, a lot of our livestock now, for example, from Mandera is transported through Somalia to Middle East.
It crosses over into
Somalia. Even in Elwak, where I come from, the livestock market on the Kenya side, which naturally you will expect to be doing very well because of lack of facilities and development. The livestock market just across the other Elwak in Somalia is doing very well. And you'd expect, because of the menace of Al-Shabaab, insecurity in Somalia and all the problems there, the livestock market on Kenya side will thrive and not the livestock market on... sometimes you even think, do you really need the government to do business? Because
the other guys who have no government are doing better business.
They are doing better business than we're doing with the government because of that policy of marginalization. So we need, for example, right now, as immediate measures, we need... See, the boreholes, the few boreholes we have there now are running 24/7. There's a lot of breakages. We need government to pump in emergency money right now to repair those breakages. Secondly, boreholes need to be done in strategic areas where now livestock are concentrated as an immediate measure. Some offtake program, this issue of government saying they are buying livestock from Mandera, for example. We have 7 million. As a county, we have 7 million sheep and goats, 2 million camels, 1.7 million cattle. So we are talking about 10 million animals.
This and then the government a census as of what date?
Yes, through 2019. And then government comes and tells you we can buy 500 animals from you and take to...
Out of millions that you have.
We have 20 million animals. The government comes and buys 500 and then they say they have supported Mandera to offtake some of the animals which are suffering. It's a public relations stint by the government, which is not going to sell anymore. I
want to ask you then, what's the position of leaders in this region? And I want to start from, I know that students in universities from your region, from across the country, when they go to university, they form caucuses from the region that they come from. And those are the people who then go on to become opinion leaders in a community, in business, in leadership, in politics. What is the position of the leadership of, let's say, your county and your neighboring Wajir County, and even further down to Garissa County, in making sure that the issues of northeastern part of Kenya are well articulated and well advocated?
We are all frustrated, my friend.
Do you have a caucus?
Yeah, we have a caucus
of leaders from northeastern?
Yes, we have a caucus, not just even from northeastern. We have a very strong caucus called Pastoralist Parliamentary Group in the House right now.
I know it.
We have 105 members, and we can influence a lot of legislation in that House.
Yep.
But we need to be organized, and unfortunately, in the past, the leaders from that region have been pitted against each other based on which county you come from, based on which clan you come from, ethnicity, party. We have been divided in the past based on. But right now, if you look at the House, I'm happy to say there's a young crop of leaders who've been elected from that region, who've come up, and they have a completely different mindset. of how they view. They've been making noise about this marginalization. Now they have the opportunity to do something about it. And I think it's just 2 months since we were sworn in. I think we'll put our act together. We'll come together under the umbrella of the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group and see what we can be able to do for our people. But I can assure you, Eric and my other colleagues, it's not going to be business as usual.
You know, the marginalization has its inadvertent benefits. Not intended, but you see, if I look at the business community of our citizens who come from your region, the business influences have continued to grow. And somehow the business community seem to have found a way of working together. Communities have found a way of working together. Now, the point Eric raises is the politicians who are elected to ensure that these voices are heard loudly and that the resources we speak of and the resources that are needed actually get done. Given the economic might that has grown with the time, economic might is a very loud voice. It's very loud. It's listened to more than even the voice of the politicians, because that economic might is probably what determines who becomes a political leader anyway.
Right.
Okay? Now, if the leadership, the political leadership, and the business leadership don't speak as one voice, you know, this situation we're talking about, it will persist.
I agree.
And whatever can be done and what can readily be done with the resources that already are available, it is not as though Mandera is resourceless or that part of the world of our country is resourceless. No, it's not. They're not resourceless.
It is. Actually, we enjoy, you know, you are Christians. In the Bible, they say the stone that was done, the stone that was ignored.
It was rejected.
The stone that was rejected became the cornerstone.
Yes.
The hope of this country in terms of food production, in terms of, the extractive resources, gas, oil, the livestock industry, the future of this country is in that part of the world. And it's better for Kenyans to start listening to the voices from that region, because it will reach a time we will say the way you treated us for the last 5 years is the same way we are going to treat you.
You know, in this case, it isn't 5 years.
50 years, sorry.
Yes.
50 years.
Yes.
For the last 50 years, the way we treated us, most of the so-called high potential areas have reached the economic equilibrium. We are still a virgin territory. Untapped, both in terms of natural resources, in terms of food production, and in terms of livestock production.
You know, if you look at the issues that we have, once we've paused clobbering the national government for the mistakes that they make and the things they don't do, there's an accountability factor that is not talked about loudly enough with regards to our county system. Because if I look at the amounts of monies that every county gets, it is a colossal amount.
I agree.
And I cannot and I will not be convinced that that money is actually ever used for what is intended, a small portion of it.
Right.
If the other day we were looking at ghost workers and the amounts of money in billions and hundreds of millions being paid out, that's just a lazy way of trying to siphon money.
Right.
What if the resources that are within the county, and county governments can be pressurized by the MPs and by the MCs, they can be pressurized. If those resources, let's leave the national government aside, pressurize them to ensure you get your money.
Right.
If the resources within the county is actually used properly, the very things we're saying, something that hasn't been done can actually get done.
Perfect. I agree. And particularly Mandera, where I come from, we are lucky. We receive 12 billion per year. And
Mheshimiwa, if I want to come to Mandera,
can we see things worth 12 billion having been developed in the
12
county?
billion per year.
Let's not even try it. Let's just say 12 billion.
In relation, it will depend on what is the baseline you're using.
I will let you
can even have the baseline.
I will let you have the baseline.
Yes. If you look at, like for example, the first year of devolution, it was reported that Mandera County, the resources they received in the first year alone was more than the resources that county had received from the national government before devolution for 40 years.
Okay. Let me speak Kenyan.
So it was doing a lot of catch up.
Yeah,
Basically, what you're saying.
Exactly.
Is that the last 9 years, you've been catching up with the rest of the country.
Exactly.
What the country's been doing for 60.
I can't lie to you. There's a lot of pilferage, a lot of corruption, a lot of bad things have happened. But the little that has gone to the people is actually life-changing.
A story was told to me by somebody who was part of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. And I found it interesting. And they were talking about how they went to a county. And one of the things that they found interesting was when they asked for the book of accounts and what have you, they were given a black book and said, what we did, it's like this.
We got this money.
We got the money. Then we called the different groupings, this community, this
Clans.
We told them, so you guys have plans. Okay, now, we're going to divide that money. So you guys are the ones who know what you want to do with the money.
Just take.
No. We are giving you your money. So we are not going to bother. You are the ones who know what you need. Take your money and use it. And then when we get some more, we will tell you again when we get the money. Now, I didn't think it was a bad plan, if you ask me. Because if you are divvying out resources in a way that the people are happy with, I see you're shaking your head.
The people are happy.
The people are happy.
Yes. Now, the problem is that the leaders in that particular grouping are probably the ones who took the money and did whatever they wanted with it, and it didn't trickle down. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, if I were to speak Kenyanese, let's say the first 5 years, watu walikuwa narudishia mwili asante. Okay?
Yeah, so we give it away.
Mwili gani hiyo?
So we do the second 5.
Okay. Second 5, no excuse.
Over 100
60 billion.
Over 100
no
billion
excuse.
shillings.
Forget the long stories.
That's gone into with 9 years' time.
Precisely. The accountability factor should be left to MCAs. Because what we didn't have, we now have. Money arriving locally.
Right.
So there is actually no region in this country that can just keep pointing fingers at the national government.
Right.
We have resources locally.
Agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Now, if we can account for those and say the resources we have received are actually meeting the needs of the people as we know they need them, these things that we are saying can actually change. What am I talking about? I'm talking about own source revenue generation, building it, ensuring it exists within the county. Yes.
I agree. Some of us, particularly myself, I'm a first-time MP. And one of the reasons why I was elected in a crowd of seven people was basically because of my, I don't want to call it activism. I was actually very vocal in terms of the things we are talking about. The resources in the county, is it being used properly? I equated it to somebody stealing from his left pocket and hiding it in his right pocket. Because those days when we used to point to Nairobi, saying the center, they are pilfering everything at the center, it's long gone. You see, as leaders, unfortunately, sometimes we like criticizing and talking about our problems without also having, recommending any solutions for those problems. I think it's high time we also stood up to be counted as leaders. I can assure you, I'll continue making noise the way I used to make noise before I was the MP. I will remain vocal. I will remain true to the values that I stood for before the election. And I am very sure most of the leaders that are elected to this 13th Parliament, especially from Northeastern, are people who are elected basically on the same kind of a platform. People, we told the people, we will do this when we are there.
If they do not speak with one voice, believe me.
Yes.
These 5 years will pass.
They'll just come and go.
We will call you and we'll be having the same. It's as though the 5 years didn't pass. And it's as though the counties didn't receive money and it's as though nothing happened.
Yeah.
The opportunity and I think the challenge is with the way you've said, the new membership or leadership from the area, from the pastoralist communities, coming together and let there be a leader who emerges, who then rallies this over 100 MPs and says, this is the direction that we take. This is how we can use our power and our strength in Parliament to get our things going.
I agree.
look for the leader amongst yourselves.
I will definitely challenge taken.
Mheshimiwa, as you go, let's tell you about where you can buy a piece of land now in this Kenya. In this part of Kenya. In Ngong. There's a new road from Ngong heading towards Suswa. New tarmac road. Just about 4 kilometers or so. There's a new gated community that's coming up there. It's called Naserian Ridge, Phase 3. And they're selling some beautiful pieces of land with beacon, with fence, with freehold title. And all you need to do is part with 650,000 shillings for a 50 by 100 plot. And if you go there and you say, Mimi nilisikia kwa SpiceFM, you get 20k off.
Wow.
630, just like that.
Sure, thanks.
The next mshahara that comes from Parliament. And there's a payment plan, and we can talk about that as well.
All right.
But thank you very much for joining us, Mheshimiwa. Abdul Haro Elias Kore is a member of Parliament from Mandera South. He's been our guest this morning. We'll have him again and again and again to continue having the conversations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm also very grateful you've had me on this show. I've been a big fan of Situation Room. I've been following your conversations, and I'm happy today I'm part of that conversation.
Very good.
Wonderful.
Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya is set to receive a further 52.7 billion shillings from the International Monetary Fund's Extended Fund and Extended Credit Facilities. The disbursement, which still awaits approval by the IMF Executive Board, follows the conclusion of the IMF staff mission to Kenya, which represented the fourth review of the country's 38-month program with a multilateral lender. The new disbursement is expected to take total disbursement by IMF to Kenya under the EFF and ECF facilities to 188.3 billion shillings. The National Construction Authority has waived accreditation fees for construction workers for the fiscal year ending in June 2023. The fees have been waived for all skilled construction workers and construction site supervisors. The move is partly seen as an initiative to incentivize compliance with accreditation by construction sector workers who are regulated by the authority. All skilled construction workers and construction site supervisors engaged in to undertake construction work must be accredited by the NCA on either of the 5 classes of construction works under the National Construction Authority Act. The National Construction Authority offers accreditation services through its offices and Huduma centers across the country. And detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations have begun investigations into the disputed 1-acre prime parcel of land located along School Lane in Westlands, Nairobi. According to Niraj Shah and his wife Avani Shah, they are the legal occupants since their lease to the land, which was allegedly bought by a private company in 2010, expires in 2048. The couple has condemned the demolition of their 80 million shillings worth property by a mob allegedly deployed by the private developer. For over 40 years, the Shahs have called the parcel of land their home, but the 80 million shillings property now looks nothing close to its former self. They say the investor in question demolished the house without following police protocol to do so. And Pakistan's Interior Minister now says evidence suggested a prominent Pakistani journalist was the victim of a targeted killing in Kenya, not an accidental shooting, though he still needed more information on the incident. A police report a day after the shooting said police officers hunting car thieves opened fire on the vehicle that Sharif was traveling in as it drove through the roadblock without stopping. She also said that the case was now being investigated by a police watchdog, the State Independent Policing Oversight Authority. Pakistan's Interior Minister Rana Shaula said that Arad Sharif's death is not a case of mistaken identity, and that on the evidence so far, the case is that of a targeted killing. Pakistan's government formed an investigation team to look into the matter, which caused uproar in the country. Now, Uganda will shorten the school term by 2 weeks to reduce daily contact among students and help curb the spread of Ebola. The education minister said they have been struggling to contain the highly infectious and deadly hemorrhagic fever since the epidemic spilled into the capital Kampala, home to around 2 million people. As of Monday, the country had recorded a total of 135 confirmed cases and 53 deaths. Education Minister Janet Kataha Museveni said the cabinet had taken a decision to close the preschools, primary schools and secondary schools on November 25th because densely packed classrooms made students highly vulnerable to infection. Now, 9 police officers from the General Service Unit who are said to appear in court today to face charges of a shooting of 4 people during a protest in Masimba area of Kajiado County are now challenging the decision to prosecute them. The 9 are accused of shooting and killing 4 people on June 2nd, 2020 during a protest by a mob over increased attacks by wild animals. In a certificate of urgency, the accused argued that it is unreasonable for the prosecution to prefer charges against them since they were discharging their lawful mandate and acted in the best interest of the larger public who were civilians and not part of the riot. Through their lawyer Danson Omari, the police officers argued that the court should intervene to protect those who act in an official capacity in discharging their mandate. And finally, the National Police Service has recovered over 700 stolen livestock in bandit-prone areas of Turkana, Isiolo, West Pokot, Samburu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Laikipia and Baringo counties following a series of successful sting operations. The police interventions, which fall under the large operation Commercial Halifu, saw law enforcement agencies recover 500 goats, 70 heads of cattle, 200 camels and that had been stolen from the aforementioned areas by suspected bandits. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so we're still looking at it. It's a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and places where it's still heavy. Landys is basically swallowing up all the traffic that came off of Jogoo Road today, and it's really full and regurgitating onto Kamkunji. So how about that for eating up the traffic this morning? We're looking at it also heavy coming off of James Gishuru, and it continues off the Thika Superhighway. Looking at that nexus then, Muthaiga Square, going towards the Pangani Underpass, coming off of Muthaiga Road as well as Kiambu Road today. That still seems to be a bit of a mess. Coming off of Outer Ring and then touching on the Thika Superhighway, you should be all right. Looking at this other side of the city then, we're looking at Gong Road. Heavy. It's also touching off of what comes off of Raila Odinga Way. Mombasa Road doesn't look too bad till you get to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. And then you'll be on Uhuru Highway through to the city, and that's going to be full for some time. Look at traffic hours starting later and later every day. 30 minutes or so, we'll see what it looks like. Let's do it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to...
Welcome to the final hour of the Situation Room, the Wednesday, the 9th day of November 2022. Yes, remember from tomorrow, the 10th, is the what week, Ndu?
Italian Cuisine Week.
It's the Italian Cuisine Week. Yep. So, City has been walking around with new gadgets. He has a new Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. He's been talking about it. Now he's telling us about the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Was it about the Watch CT?
You know, a watch should look like a watch.
A watch should look like a watch.
Yes, there are these watches that I see people wearing that look like a small TV screen. Okay? or they look like a small computer screen.
Uh-huh.
This one, cylindrical, and round.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
Then, I mentioned it yesterday, and perhaps some people didn't hear what I said. People buy watches to tell the time, some buy it for lifestyle. Yes, this watch does the same thing. I'm talking about the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Does the same thing. However, something else that it can do for you, something important, it helps you keep a good check on your health. Okay? This watch can help you measure your heartbeat. It's on your wrist. You don't take it and put it on your chest. Just leave it on your wrist. It will be able to measure your heartbeat. It can measure sleeping patterns. It can tell you stress levels. Yani blood pressure mepanda, nini mepanda, iko na shida. Yes. The thing about it, all these functions and the battery it has can last an entire day, meaning 24 hours without necessarily recharging it. So as you think of going to sleep, that's when you put the charger.
So even when you're recharging, the phone can recharge?
Yes, it can.
I mean, the watch can recharge?
No. The watch can recharge, yes. It's good you mentioned the phone because you can communicate with this watch, by the way, via your phone. Yes.
Pretty good on you, City.
That's the whole point. That's why it's on my wrist, so that it can continue looking good on my wrist. Surely. Why do you think I wore it in the first place?
Well,
I mean, just for saying.
Vanity is not your issue.
Actually, speaking plainly, masquerading as vanity is not my issue.
Okay. Okay. Well, good on you. It's a very good one. It looks good. The Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro is something to look out for. No.
Sir?
There have been conversations on social media recently with regards to... So what people are saying is there are areas that people are crowd identifying as hotspots for insecurity in the country.
Yeah.
In the city particularly. Areas where they're saying if you're in this particular region, watch out. Watch out for boda, watch out for people who are walking towards you, watch out because incidences have happened in these particular areas and hotspots.
There have been. If we look at one of the posts that came from Kireleshwa Ward MCA, Robert Alai, said that criminals are operating in Kayole, Soweto, Tunjiri area. They are using a pro box and terrorizing people left, right. They masquerade as policemen. Yesterday, they came and collected a man from his Mjengo as policeman, but they thought that he was dead. They hit him with a hammer on top of his eye socket. These criminals work in teams. There's another group around Jacaranda. He's doing some investigation and he's gotten that there's a connection of a chain connected to a certain woman in Jiru and one policeman from some station in Kayole. This is what he says. We just need to be clear on that. This is what he's saying. He's saying we will get them, Kenyans, around these areas. If you see this particular vehicle, run for your life. This is the fourth person that they've beaten in this manner. They always say they are police officers. Please notify Kenyans. And also our security our security is lapsing since the new government came in. That is what Robert Alai has to say.
Okay.
All right. So apart from that, there was also the other issue that we saw coming in from a doctor at the Kenyatta National Hospital, Lillian Munya. She said, if you have family or close friends coming to Nairobi or residing here, please advise them appropriately. These past 2 weeks have not been easy at work. We're receiving an average of 4 to 7 cases of stabbing daily from muggings around the city. I've helplessly watched young and old, men and women breathe their last trying to save them. We are some are in ICU while others have survived but with lifelong injuries. Most of these cases are coming from the drive-in flyover up to KCA, that's off the Thika Superhighway, the KCA underpass and total exit, I beg your pardon, Globe Roundabout and Kipande Road, ABC Place and Kangemi along Wayaki Way, Naivas Allsops along the Thika Superhighway, the CBD Archives, River Road and the Fig Tree area opposite or near the KBC offices. Please note, these killer thugs are stealing in broad daylight. If you resist, they will stab or shoot you without a second thought. Advise your friends and family to avoid walking alone or getting late in these places. If you're carrying a laptop on your backpack, you remain a target. Be sure you will lose it or your life in these places.
So this is somebody who says that they work at KNH and they are saying that this is what they've witnessed. Of course, we haven't talked to them, so we don't know for sure whether they actually do work there. But there's a petition that's been launched by a family on change.org. And this is with regards to a young man who was 24 years old called Keegan Benson Githua, who was killed in Ridgeways as he walked home. He was attacked by thugs who used the border to get away. They tried to rob him of his gadgets and stabbed him in the chest before getting away. Keegan was rushed to the hospital or AAR on Kiambu Road by Good Samaritans. The hospital staff tried to resuscitate him, but he succumbed to his injuries. Now, the family and friends of Keegan have launched a petition on change.org, and they're saying what they want to do is they want to petition the authorities to take some action on A, the border operations, B, vigilance by police and increasing patrols by police, enforcement of laws to ensure that you know who is operating where. So it's basically a call for more patrols by police and more action by police. If you look at the pockets of information that are coming from various quarters on social media, then they are basically saying something. The question is there an issue with regards to security and insecurity in Nairobi? Is this a spike in incidences of insecurity, or is it a spike in reporting of incidences of insecurity, or is it something else altogether, like, bringing to the fore issues of insecurity? What is it?
There are known patterns, that is information that is garnered from research about incidences such as the one that we are witnessing and the reporting of it. And there's a genesis to it. There are things that one would refer to and say are relational. These crimes, you will find, are being perpetrated by people who are young. And the question you want to ask is, what is it that drives people into crime? What is it? Is it that there is a specific school where people learn where to stab others, where they learn how to mug others or hit people, clobber them on the head with a mallet? No. Why do people resort to stealing? Why do people resort to stealing using violence? What is it that is happening? We have spoken about the mental health condition of the nation, and we have spoken about the attendant problems that started with COVID, now with the economic downturn that COVID brought about, young people who don't have jobs, the cost of living that is constantly on the rise. But the biggest contributor is a sense of hopelessness. Because when someone ventures into an enterprise like mugging, the thing that they also do is they put their own lives at risk. So what is it that makes someone take this step without due consideration to what also might happen to them? It points to a situation where certain groupings of people have gotten to a point where they don't really care. They are more concerned about what will make them live and survive on a daily basis, and if it means risking their lives, so be it, because in the absence of that, their life was hopeless anyway. So this mental health condition that we have spoken of in the past, we are seeing the manifestation of it, because when someone decides to take a path where they want to supposedly eke a living by killing, harming others, stabbing others, that person isn't in the right frame of mind, because you cannot say this person has been this way since they were children. You cannot say that these people were inclined towards crime anyway. No. Some people maybe. Some people have that leaning. But when it is on the increase, you have to ask the question, this mental health condition that we are seeing, because it is a mental health condition, what is increasing it? And then...
So there is an increase.
It is an increase. It is an increase. Not just an increase in reporting. It is an increase.
There is increase of incidences.
Yes,
there is an increase of incidences.
Yes.
There's an increase of reporting.
Yes.
But then this thing that you speak of, which I think is at the crux of the matter, is that there is an increase in this would-be hopelessness when it comes to, and especially because it can be linked to economic issues.
Yes.
It will be linked to that times have gotten so much tougher. And look, in no way whatsoever, and I reiterate, is this a justification for anybody to go and commit a crime.
Perpetrate a crime. No.
Absolutely not. Whatever it is, mugging, stealing, and in this case, unfortunately, very sad, murder. There's no justification for that whatsoever. But if you are going to start looking at the behavior that would lead to this, and then why we are seeing an increase of these cases around, the truth of the matter is that if we're looking at the hopelessness meter, that we've gone, really way up the meter. That has happened. Look at the indicators that we talk about. Look at the mental health situation in the country. Look at these incidents of people presenting to hospital having been stabbed. Whether that is, sure, we don't have the statistics, we don't have the numbers. We've not spoken to a live human being about exactly what the numbers are looking like. But from all indications, we see that there's an increase. We have more people reporting about, I cannot walk in a certain part of the city as maybe I would have before. I cannot do that with my belongings, because the likelihood of me getting stabbed or mugged then has risen significantly. So we cannot run away from the fact that these do exist.
These things are happening.
Yes.
We have somebody on the line, and this is political activist and human rights defender, Boniface Mwangi. Good morning, Boniface.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for speaking to us, Boniface. We are talking about what we are seeing on social media, people posting about incidences of muggings, which are violent and in some cases have ended up in death. For example, in the case of Keegan in Ridgeways. You receive a lot of petitions on your social media platforms from people. Have you been receiving this kind of petitions by people saying we are seeing incidences of muggings on the rise?
Yes, I have, but I've got it from both sides. The public and the police. The police are saying that they've been victimized, and so they're actually on a go slow. So it's not that there's increase in crime per se. It's less patrols, less arrest, and not police doing their job. They feel targeted because the couple of cops who were arrested for the murder of the two Indians, they were saying they were acting under orders. The people who give them the orders were never arrested. Their boss, the DCI guy, is still in office. He's still at the Public Service Commission, who's transferred. So the police are actually saying, we do our job, then we get victimized. Because for any time a police kills a mugger, they get authorization from the HQ. When they go on patrol and they say they're going to go and minimize crime by killing people, they do not do that by their own volition. They actually have to have call control, get orders, then they carry out the killings. So they're saying right now, let Kenyans feel how they will feel if you have no police presence in the streets. So it's actually the police going on a go slow.
But
they're letting the crime
Boniface,
happen. Yes.
The particular case that we're talking about is of DCI officers attached to a special unit.
True.
The issue of patrols on the streets is by police constables who are deployed from a police station.
So the crime prevention.
Why would the police constables deployed from a police station go on a ghost?
No, not necessarily. Actually, the crime prevention unit actually is from DCI. All the hits could come from DCI. The guys who tackle hard criminals are from DCI, the DCI units. So the police constables do patrols, but most of the tracking down gangsters, rapists, murderers is the work of DCI crack units. And so when they were all recalled, they recalled everyone. So for example, I'll give you an example. Pangani 6, Rashid and the team work in Madare, Pangani Sili, but they work under, they actually DCI deployed under an OCS. So police constables just do normal patrol. That is number one. Number two, they were promised a pay rise, and there was a court ruling actually that all police graduates should get back to their normal salary because they should be earning the salary of an inspector. There was a judgment in court. The police commission said it should be obeyed, but they got even their salaries. So basically, there's a change of government and change of administration. So there's actually internal strike among police officers.
What are they striking about? Are they striking about transfers, or is it what you're saying? They promised a salary, and has the salary promise been rescinded?
So there's a graduate police officers striking about they haven't been paid their money. That is number one. There's also the feeling of victimization that they act under orders, but it's actually the junior officers who suffer when those orders go wrong. So there's a lack of accountability. They're saying if you're going to hold a constable, inspector, or an inspector responsible for whatever they did, you should take it all the way to the chain of command. They were actually acting on orders. So basically, it's the entire police service coming together and saying, let Kenyans feel our absence in these few times. Because the truth is, the guys who do most of these killings, based on intelligence, they're known. Because when they rob, they go back to the community and they have to go and fence whatever they steal. Whatever they steal has to go to a pawn shop. It's an entire chain. And the police understand that entire chain. So it's very possible for them to get Keegan's murder within a week if they want to.
So this is one side. This is what you're saying you're hearing from your sources within the police service. What about from the public?
It's unemployment, bro. There is a high level of unemployment. People are hungry. People are angry, and they're desperate. By the time someone is going to risk their life to go and steal at knife point or gunpoint, they have nothing else to do. They have come to the end of their choices. The killing is bad. The violence is bad. But they're saying we are hungry and we don't know what to do. And what I think is going to happen in the coming months, the government made a lot of promises to hustlers. They must fulfill that. If they fail to do that, there will be a revolt or an increase in levels of crime. Because desperate people do desperate things. And people are just desperate. No one steals for fun. Yeah.
I hear you on that, Boniface, but I'm just asking directly, are you getting people who are writing into your platform and saying we have increased incidences of muggings or insecurity in our area? That I know somebody who was attacked yesterday, or we have somebody in hospital whom we took after being attacked. Do you have that kind of information?
Yes.
And what's the
nature?
nature?
On that?
So what's
the nature?
Yes.
So just violent muggings when people are walking, especially in the CBD.
And so we're saying that. So Boniface, we're saying that. It's a demand for whatever might be on your person, your belongings, and if there's any kind of resistance, the next resort that we see is then infliction of injury, or unfortunately, in some cases, like we've seen, and unfortunately with Githua, death.
Yeah. So it's basically, so the thing is about CBD is a very small place to actually secure, but guys are getting mugged every day. I don't even understand how a small place like CBD, there are CCTV, guys get mugged. It's a very easy place to secure if the police actually really cared, because every exit, every entry point has a CCTV camera, and the people who mug exit and enter, and they go there daily. So you can't have, if it's a hotspot, that means those guys come to work at that hotspot every single day, and the police know them. I'm just saying, at this particular stage, it's the police failing to do their job. They know it's a hotspot. They don't put, you can even put full-time police officers. For example, in this country, our members of parliament, our governors feel very insecure. So they walk everywhere with a bodyguard. They have a bodyguard everywhere they go. That means they have enough police officers to deploy on hotspots. If global roundabout is a hotspot, we have enough officers to go and say, kaa hapo, usitoke hapo. Kenyan banks don't train police officers. Kenyan banks have police officers at their door every single day. That means we have enough police officers to protect all Kenyans. Because, for example, there are like 10 banks or 20 banks in the CBD. Just give 10 banks officers, because some of them are in the same street. Then take the other 10 officers and put them in the hotspots. No one is going to get back on those hotspots. It's just lack of thinking in the police leadership. Because they can secure hotspots if they want to. If someone has been mugged there today, then there's another mugging tomorrow and the day after, that means the police are not responding to people's complaints.
So there are underlying issues from various angles. Boniface, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for sharing this information with us as well.
Thank you very much for having me. Asante.
Asante sana. Let's cross over to Nyandarua. John is on the line and he wants to contribute. John, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Morning, John.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, very fine. Now, this is a problem that facing the public, and it's becoming scary. For instance, here in Nyeri, we had the police are attacking the public.
John, your line, please call back. Let's try and get you on a clearer line. Anthony in Mombasa, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
Habari huko?
Salama kabisa.
Yes. Wacha nichangie this topic about the mugging in Nairobi. But what I want to look at is from a different point of view. Yes, we might blame the police for the rise in security, but as it squarely falls on them. But I wanted just to pick on something because Nairobi, as it is perceived, ni mji ya wezi. Yani huko, it's a gangster sort of life. Why people are saying that is because the common mwananchi does not care or does not actually respond to someone who's being mugged. In Nairobi is where someone can get mugged qua stage in broad daylight and people are just standing there looking at what is happening. Then after you've been mugged and the muggers have left is when now people respond. But if you go to other towns, you see, let's say if you come here to Mombasa, if such a thing is done in broad daylight, believe me, people will just surround there and look at what is happening and people will intervene. So as much as we say it is the police responsibility, because the police will not be there all the time, but there will not be a witness. There is always a witness. You cannot be mugged unless you're walking 3 a.m. in the morning, but if it is in broad daylight, they're talking about the globe roundabout.
It's an aspect of community policing as well?
Actually, that is what now caters for these muggings. There's nothing best than community policing. I believe in globe roundabout, you might find there maybe the mechanics are there or the makangas are there. So it is just about sensitizing them and saying, you are not supposed, you are supposed to do something. When someone is getting mugged there, even if someone is using a knife, but the fact that you'll go there, people are armed with sticks and everything, unless it's a gun, if it's a gun, then that's a different story. But mtu akipigwa ngeta, honestly, even if there are 10 people doing that deed, I believe that particular area, there must be more than 50 or 100 people. It's just taking care of your neighbor. Once that happens, we'll see this number of muggings going down.
All right, Anthony. Thank you very much for your call.
Okay, thank you.
We want to hear from you as well. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. On social media, there have been increased cases of people reporting incidences of crime. And this is crime, petty muggings, people just approaching you, robbing you, threatening to stab you. In cases, people have been stabbed. People have ended up in hospital. In cases, people have died. Somebody has been stabbed to death and they were attacked by people on a motorbike. So what is it that's happening? What is it that's happening? What have you heard from where you are? We want to hear from you once we take this quick break. It's 28 minutes to 10. The Italian Cuisine Week is this week.
It's here.
It's starting tomorrow. Restaurants in Nairobi will be looking for the best tiramisu. What is tiramisu?
Tiramisu is actually a dessert. It's creamy on top. It's got coffee in it. It's really delicious if it's made right. The Italians have got a cap on that one, that's for sure.
Dessert ikona kawa ile.
Dessert ile ikona kawa.
Okay, so is it in liquid form?
No, it's solid. It's like cake. It's like a coffee cake. It's like a creamy coffee cake. I'm sure you've had it before, Siti. Stop it.
No, not really. I don't really have a sweet tooth.
It's lovely, I tell you. It's lovely. So from 11th, restaurants in Nairobi will actually be participating in this and looking for the best tiramisu.
Tiramisu.
Part of Italian Cuisine Week.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord. Thank you very much. I've earned another title today, this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If I look at the Premier League table, Manchester City is on top. Arsenal, number 2 in the table. Absolutely. How did Brentford get to number 3 in the Premier League table?
They beat us like Burukenge.
What's your love language, French?
My love language is I want to be left alone.
What can't you compromise on?
Quality time and acts of service. Words of affirmation tutapata hata kanisani.
Okay, sunny conditions through Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 17. We'll see highs of 25. In a sunny Nakuru at 19 and it's 18, and rainy in Nyeri, highs of 24 and 25 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Eldoret. Okay, 28 degrees in Mombasa, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 30 as well in a rainy Malindi at 29. Sunny at 25 in Kisumu, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 in Kakamega, where the sun is up at 26. It's sunny at 24 in Kampala, and it's raining in Dar es Salaam at 28. 19 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 24 and lows of 14. And it's rainy as well in Lagos. We'll go to highs of 23. I beg your pardon, 32. 30 will be the high in a mostly sunny Kinshasa at 24. It's sunny in Beijing going into early evening Wednesday, highs of 15 and lows of 5, and mostly cloudy at 11 in Paris. It's 11 and raining in London, highs of 15, and we'll see highs of 13 when it comes into Wednesday in New York. It's currently clear at 8. I think Nairobi traffic is experiencing daylight saving by 1 hour, because now is when you see the traffic has really kicked in most parts of the city. It looks better on Raila Odinga Way, so you're going to go in that direction if you're trying to run away with what's happening on Uhuru Highway. You can do that, but then you're going to connect with Gong Road, which is pretty busy as heading out into the city. So whatever was going on along Likoni is clear. Yay! Not too bad, at least not for now. And it's clear on the Thika Superhighway, but still pretty clogged on Kiambu Road as you're coming into the city. Ring Road Westlands, Lantana Road, all those places inside there clogged. James Gishuru slowly moving over the drift towards Wayaki Way, but then you're going to get into Kabete and those places and you're fine. Abi, SpiceFM KE through the morning. Let's talk there.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
0719-012-600. Insecurity. Is there insecurity? Are there cases of rising insecurity? City, you were saying, look at the economic situation. So yes, it's a possibility that you will find increased insecurity.
Yes. You know, it's a combination of so many things. You look at, for instance, let's talk of unemployment even before COVID. It was something that we discussed at great length, and it was an issue that just didn't require noting, it required addressing. People go to college, young people go to college, they come out of college, there isn't really much for them to do. That's when all these discussions about how to reject this thinking process, how to reignite the entrepreneurial spirit, and all these things took place. Then COVID happened, and somehow all that talk couldn't happen even with the best of intentions, simply because the economies around the world were on a downward spiral, and they're still recovering from it. Now, the number of students who go to tertiary institutions, people who seek further training, the numbers don't go down, they keep increasing. And so if work opportunities, employment opportunities keep reducing, and you have a situation where the cost of living just keeps rising, what we're saying, the inflation rate, yes, keeps rising. The problem that we speak of in terms of the mental capacity to deal with the situation doesn't get better, it gets worse. Now, when one is young, the thinking behind how to make a living is often, should we say, it's conjured up with your peers, what someone seems to do and how they seem to. It's how people are recruited. I know this because when I worked in the research world and we're looking at high-risk individuals, say, for instance, sex workers, whether it was male or female, what it is that got people into that line of work, it had to do with peer influence. Someone tells you, I look this way and I'm able to do this because this is what I do. So it begins in a way that one could think of as being harmless, yet it isn't. Now the consequence is then brought to bear when now one is fully fledged in that particular trade and you realize, my goodness, there's a lot more to this than I was told before. Same with crime. People aren't introduced to crime as a bad thing. No, all you need to do is this and you'll have money. And the person telling you is someone who is...
They're a living example.
Yes, you have. And you can see they seem to be okay, they don't have problem, they have money, they have this. And how do you get this? All we need to do is this and the other. So the problem is it becomes then a growth industry. And many people go into it because you live in an area and everyone around you doesn't seem anything, seems to have... What they seem to have to do is this. When I worked in the western part of the country, the thing that I found in those days, around 2005, 2006, many young people in the areas of what we refer to as Nyanza, places that didn't have industries to speak of, commercial activities were what we call small-scale businesses. Many young people got into what you could refer to as the security business. Essentially, they were goons for hire. So young people spent a lot of time bodybuilding, being tough. There's a limit to how many bouncers any establishment can have. But when you're going for a rally and you want people who can disperse people effectively, people who can thump people to an inch of their life effectively.
A certain kind of person you went for.
Yes. So it was, again, a growth industry. And one is because when you talked of opportunities, you ask yourself, where were they? And many of these thugs for hire also ended up were touts in the matatu industry. I'm simply saying there's a pattern that you see when opportunities that one can think of and say, if I do this, there will be this opportunity, when they are lacking. And all you're seeing is a closed door. All you're seeing is a shut door. So the one which presents itself and can offer you what you want is what you take.
Is what you take.
But I was saying that it is a state of mind that in my mind is unhealthy. That's why I talked about the mental health. Yes.
Robert in Nandi.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, too.
Are you concerned about the state of security?
Yeah, of course I'm concerned. Nasikia mnanyongwa Nairobi Mombasa. Yeah, and I think there's a status I read supposed to act a bit hesitant. Why? Of their actions. Like now, the only thing that can deter those guys from maybe mugging people is full force of the police officers. Full force. Sio ile ya kubembelezana. That is the only thing that can deter them from doing what they are doing in Central Business District. But then the problem now is, if they act the way they are supposed to have acted, as in the way they've been acting, chances are, without a CCTV camera capturing the incident, that police officer will be what? Will be blamed for not arresting. But then in essence, sio watu wa kusema you are arresting. Let me tell you. These are just guys to be wafinywe. Ama namna yeah, but look at it the way I'm saying wafinyo. Na wewe naye tayari ushasema so who is this you want to take responsibility? Leo afinye mtu na kesho akokotini anaambia
ajibu maswali.
Yes, so si afadhali usimame tu useme Mungu asaidie kila mtu mkubwa.
All right, Robert.
But let me ask you, Erika.
Go ahead. We lost him. Zachary.
Oh, good morning, you people.
Good morning, person.
Can you now hear me clearly? Very clear. I mean,
no.
Without interference.
No.
Oh, really? Okay, let me send my voice and then. Now, I congratulate Mr. City, Andrew, Alex.
Zachary, try the other phone.
Okay.
Try that other one. Janet in Garden Estate.
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
So, a couple of things about what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think, number one, first of all, and this was going to be very obvious, with the disbursement of the special police unit, it gives the thugs some bravery that was not there before. And if you frequent a place like Isili, there was a time there was quite a spate of robberies at the M-Pesa, the M-Pesa units. And this is also being seen in places like Dawn Home, Feather. It has come back. But those people, when they were being shot, full force of the law, like someone had said, it scares them and they disappear. But now, with this KK government, the hustlers, especially the Buddha people, the entitlements they have is nauseating. You just need to go to the CBD.
The entitlement who has? Sorry, I just wanted to be
the Buddha people.
Okay.
Because apparently they feel like they're the ones who put the government in place. So, you just need to go to the CBD and see the difference before and after. These people, now they park anywhere. You're walking on a pavement, they will hit you, and then they're telling you, and you're at a pavement, surely. Anyway, that is number one. Number two, I also have an example. A place like Gikomba, there's certain places where you can never be mugged. Why? Because the business people around there, they took it upon themselves. If they see someone mugging, trying to steal a phone or anything, they just light you up. And they can tell you for sure there you can walk holding your phone, no one will bother with you. But you just need to go to a certain place in Gikomba, and there it is, you're even told, ukitembea hapo ukiongea na simu, it is at your own risk. The same thing, even for us people in the CBD. If we took it upon ourselves, ukiona mtu akiibiwa, because it's going to spoil for me business, why can't you also take action? Those people are normally like 3-4. You want to tell me 20 people cannot overpower them unless they have guns? So there's so many things that are coming into play, and even the police feeling victimized. So this government just needs to get its act in order.
Thank you, Janet. Let's hear from Gore. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good morning. Very well, Gore. How are you?
I don't know how audible. Do you get my line clear from that end?
Very, very clear.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, my take is this: crime or criminology, from whichever angle one wants to look at it, in my judgment, is an industry. Crime is an industry which must be expected to thrive in any society. What is important here is how that industry should be managed. And in management here, then there are these players. We have the police in terms of security, we have the government, we have the society. Now, unless these demarcations are well drawn and interrelated, and then the boundaries are well respected, you may not be able to manage crime successfully. From the society point, if you leave society to manage themselves, then because the criminals stem from the society, it will be easily managed. Because there are some societies in some estates in Nairobi during those days, like in the 80s, where if you are spotted to be stealing from somebody, you are actually killed. So nobody was now attempting, and so it became a very safe place to move around in those places. Now, but again, the other challenge comes in that you see the law also wants to come in and say, why did you do it? Now, but the other side of the question is, yes, that section of the law. Then the other question would be, where were you when this criminal was attacking us? Because you are supposed to provide us with security. Now, in the event that you are not there, do you want us to sit and watch him attack, kill us? The answer is no. So that is now the side of the aspect of the society. The side of the government, when you politicize security, then you must see the repercussion. If you want to bring in politics into police, into security system of a society, then you must see the repercussion. I can remember there was Nyeri was head of that television thing for the president. Now,
it's called a presidential press service.
Yes, not television service.
Yeah, you guys know it better because that is where you live.
Yeah.
Now, so now he had the big Betacam camera behind the pickup motor vehicle, and then that motor vehicle was being driven by his wife. So the lady parked that vehicle somewhere around Mfangano Street as she walked into a shop. When she came out of the shop, the camera was not there. So what she did, she put the information to Njiru. Njiru went to the PPO, Nairobi here, and said, the camera that is recording the president has been stolen. So I cannot report the president today.
Why?
What the PPO did was simple, right? Where they were with Njiru, the camera had to be brought there. What the police did was the PPO rang the OCPD at Central and said, presidential press camera has been stolen. Yes, it's missing at Mfangano Street. I want that camera here now. And then he gave some timeline within this framework. They had to say, dear Fandi, the OCPD. Then that chain rolled down to OCS and said, the presidential camera is stolen at Mfangano Street. So I want that camera immediately because the boss wants that camera. It's sitting waiting for it. What the OCS did was to simply walk into the cell and said, wapile walifu ya Mfangano? Kujeni wakakuja kwa ofisi yake akamwambia I want to release you people to go home. Couldn't that be a good idea? Yes, that could be very good, Afande. Lakini the terms and conditions must apply. There is a camera which is stolen in that place. Can you go and I want that camera now? And those guys said, we are bringing the camera now. So they were left. You see, they were left to go to Mfangano. Wakienda huko wanasema wakina nani walifanya hii kazi. Wanaambiwa ni wakina fulani. They traced the camera up to the Gorgon where the camera had been sold to a certain Asian. So the work of the police was just to follow the camera, track the camera to the Asian. They picked the camera. They didn't bother about that Asian guy. Said your business ends began. They picked the camera, took it to the station. The station commander took it to OCPD channel it to PPO, and Lee got his camera. So it is a chain. So you have to know how to manage this thing. Otherwise, that is all my take for this morning, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Zachary.
Oh, can you now hear me clearly?
Yes. You've moved to a different hill in Gatondo.
I tell you, Potter goes around with a beast, two beasts, yeah? I go around with three Fords.
You have your three Fords
the way you are describing Mr. Moribadro there with the Ford he has, he is now officially a lake man. He comes from the lake. Yeah, now this is my take, yeah? My God, let this new government know this, yeah? That any government anywhere in the world, it is called a government because first of all, it is supposed to secure its people. The people are the jurisdiction, guard their life, guard their property, and generally allow everyone to go do legal business. Yeah. If it feels that, it is labeled a terrorist state, a failed state. So. I think most of the speakers who are there before me have preempted what I wanted to say, and they are right. We should not compromise security of our citizens. And any person who is bent on, going around doing criminal activities, disturbing wananchi as they are going around their businesses, should be termed as a terrorist. And that person should not be negotiated with. Why are we actually witnessing this margin during the day in CBD? Do you know what is my take? The being vetted, the guy who was being vetted to be the new, we are calling him who?
Japheth Koome, the new Inspector General of Police.
Yeah, the Inspector General. You know, I have not averse myself with I'm averse to these names and whatever, yeah? He should know that the former Commissioner Generals used undercover police. They used those ruthless squads. It's not because of their right. They were pushed to. Because right now, if I'm stabbed, I will blame the government. Why are you not securing me? Why am I not able to walk from point A to point B? And yet I'm paying tax. I'm saying that Kenya is not a failed state, yet I cannot even visit the toilet past 6 o'clock. These guys are known. Eric, let me tell you, joke with any other thing, but do not joke with Kenya's intelligence. Every person's intelligence is known. Okay, there's a guy who has said, what about with the citizens? I stay somewhere. Those people know exactly does this. This is his, trade, yeah? And generally, he's not a criminal, is it?
Yep.
Why are we not helping the one person has said the police cannot be everywhere. But me and the other person, at least we are everywhere. You go to shopping centers, you always find people in Kikuyu, we say they are gazing, But those people are very, very important because if a car has an accident, you see them in TV.
They'll be the first responders.
They can even describe how the driver was thinking. So let us hear Kina Heze being sent. There's this guy called the legendary Heze,
Yeah.
Heze wa Dadora, Heze wa Mukuru kwa Jega. Why are those guys that you are paying them? Let them go there within 3 days. The government can be very ruthless. And then when the police when they do their work, let us not politicize it and by saying that if you killed my brother. Your brother was killed, but he was a criminal. He would even have come and killed you. And finally, can I say this one thing, last thing, yeah? When I was growing up, yeah, a mature thug, in fact, would guard you because you are a sharp, is it? He would take you whatever you have and tell you. He would take you whatever you have and tell you, okay, tomorrow or probably next month you are coming. But killing, why should you kill? Suppose you go and sort your saba, you put salt in your saba. Shall you be able to go and harvest again? So these guys they are terrorists, they are killers, they should be killed.
Okay, Zachary. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's try whether John's phone is better this time. John, good morning.
Good morning, how are you guys?
This is much better, John.
This is very fine. I think my network is very bad today.
Pole.
Now, you have a very, very good discussion regarding security. But I think our leaders are killing the morale of the police by giving them warnings. And even this case of this special unit should have been handled in a different way. It should not have gone to the public limelight the way it did, because it has really killed the morale of the police.
Are you saying that we should not seek to understand extrajudicial killings?
The judicial killings should not be there. They're very bad indeed. But we should not have given it the limelight, it took, because it appears to be politicized. Politicizing the issue is the bad thing.
Okay.
Secondly, this is something which should have, been extended to years back, not a specific case of two Indians. There are many Kenyans who have been, faced judicial killings, extrajudicial killings.
Yes.
So they should have taken a more professional. They should have taken a better professional way so that they may not kill the morale of the police. Secondly, if we go back to the Michuki days, when Michuki took over, there was a big insecurity problem in the city. But he and the police officers who were there managed to come out with a good management of the city's security by ensuring that every street is manned by some particular police officers. So if the crime took place in that particular street, those police officers were to be held accountable. And they managed to contain the insecurity that was there then. So what we need is a proper management of our security system.
Okay.
Secondly, there is a big economic problem facing our young people. Because, for instance, here in my area where I live, young people are harvesting our farms at night. Yeah, you have to look after your viazi at night, which is very dangerous. They're harvesting
Yeah.
and selling in the market. They are stealing our chickens every day, slaughtering our goats. And yet, the security here is doing nothing. Nothing. None of those guys have been arrested. We have a real problem.
Good point of concern.
Secondly, the police
John?
themselves have become a problem, yeah?
Because of time, we take those points and thank you very much.
There's something I wanted to say. Just one.
Time yetu imeisha, John.
Imeisha?
Imeisha. Tuongee kesho.
Alitolewa nywele na polisi.
Pole.
Na panga.
Eish. That one you'll tell us a proper story of it. That's a proper... Anyway, issues of insecurity. Let's continue seeing what people are doing, but also, like has been said, let's all be careful.
Indeed.
Where we are. Thank you for listening to Kenya's biggest conversation today. We'll be back tomorrow at what time?
6 a.m.
Until what time, City?
10
Okay.
a.m.
And now, what time is it now?
10 a.m.
Very good. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. South African